Okay, guys. Well, I'm gonna get started. For those who, first time here meeting me, for the other folks who have been around for a while, my name is Tameka Bryant. I grew up in the Bronx, and everything they say about the Bronx is, there's some truth to it, one place or one way or another. In the fact that, you know, you have to be tough to make it there. If you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere, kind of thing. Yeah, that's that is all true. So my background, for those who aren't at the first part of the morning, I was trained from a kid on up to work in the nonprofit sector. So I learned how to write grants. And at the early age of 11, 16, I got my first $500,000 grant. And I never worked for a nonprofit executive director who did not make $1 million or more a year. So fast forward that into them moving me as the youngest director into the Atlanta market. My role at the age of 25 was to make sure that the $80 million appropriation that the feds were giving to the organization, that my team's money did not go back. Whoever was in my role before could not figure out how not to spend the money that was appropriated to the government correctly. For those who are nonprofit, you're probably like, what? They couldn't figure out how to spend the money. When you have an appropriation from the federal government, that's next level kind of spending and crossing T's and dotting I's and some other stuff. And you have to understand this was an organization that had 3,000 locations at the time and overseas and on military bases. And so I got that contract to make sure I was put there to make sure we did not give the government any money, and also to manage the Taco Bell Foundation money. And I forgot the other program that I have. So I had three programs. That taught me so much about what it was to be a nonprofit exec, because I thought I knew what that all was about. Being young, being 25, I was the youngest on the team. Everybody else was 50 and over. And I had all this energy, all this time. They thought it was going to take me 3 years to figure this out. I completed it in a year and a half, and then I got bored. So once I got bored, I got on a conference management team and loved that part of it, because was doing my job, that job, and had kids and all that stuff. And 9/11 hit, and I took a position where they recruited me to go to Kansas City. And I didn't have to travel, and I could actually be with my kids, because it was on one of those hectic travel days. My little daughter says to me, could you be home a little more with us? And that's kind of how I got from Atlanta to Kansas City. So fast forward to Kansas City, I'm now there in with this position. There's 170 employees. I manage 150 of the 170. I also lead the department, um, the resource development team. They're raising 5 million for operating dollars. I'm managing, I'm doing it, and I have all this energy. And I hit a wall when I stood up to the president of that organization, because I made a hiring decision. Now, this is after me being there for 2 years. He never questioned any of my hiring decisions until I decided I was going to hire a white woman in a predominantly Black neighborhood. And he pulled me in the office and he says, a white girl can't run uh, this organization in the Black community. And the only thing he had, because he had never met this woman, is because she was white. So I stood up to him that next week, because I went out of town and I made another hire for another department for a Latino gentleman in another area. And he reversed that decision before I got back. So when I stood up to him on that Friday, I went ahead, left the office, had my kids' birthday parties on that Saturday, that was, my kids' birthdays are March 20th and March 23rd. So we had a big birthday party for them and flew my mother into town because my mother had fourth stage cancer and was living in New York. And we knew this was going to be the last time she was with the kids. And that Monday, I was terminated at 9 a.m. and my husband was terminated at 10 a.m. We both worked for the same organization, yes, because I negotiated for that organization to hire my husband in that move. Because he was the primary caretaker with me wanting to take over the world, right? In this nonprofit arena. And that's, guys, what led me to my journey full time into real estate was March 23rd, 2004. And when I look back now, 21 years ago, that was the best thing that could have ever happened to me. Because I was so comfortable, I did not realize then what I know now, or what I found out 2 years into that, was that I was too comfortable, that I was not doing the life's work that I was supposed to be doing. Even though I kept hearing those conversations with me and whatever my spiritual being was at the time, that, hey, it's time to move. You've got to do something, this is not what you're supposed to, this is not the end all, right? You have to move through this. You have to get going. And I was happy where I was. I was comfortable. This was a secure job. This was safety. This was all of that stuff. So when I sit here to you guys now, and I'm saying, sitting here now as the president of Trey International, which has real estate offices in the states, including Florida, Missouri, Kansas, whatever, and also overseas in Mexico and the Dominican Republic, and a development corporation in the DR as well. And then managing projects all over the country on teams, raising capital while building a hotel in the Dominican Republic, a resort. I can only tell you that was never my plan. This could have only happened if this, for all the folks, I don't care who you believe in or whatever, it's this higher being, whatever you want to call it, I call it God, that this is his plan. Because if it was my plan, I would have did real estate in New York. I wouldn't have had to go from New York to Atlanta to Kansas City to learn real estate. But what happened during that time that rug was pulled from underneath me in Kansas City, it allowed me to learn. It allowed me to slow down. And it allowed me to use the skills and things that I was given from a kid to move those into real estate. So I became the first African-American, Black, whatever you want to call it, MLS president for Heartland MLS. I had to sign a gag order because I was sitting at that table when NAR signed that document with Zillow. That document has since expired, so I can tell y'all all about how they sold the realtors out back then. That was in 2013. I've been Realtor of the Year, all of those things. Freddie Mac, master listing broker in Missouri. Everything you guys can think of, I had to do, because once I was terminated, I had to create a way to replace that 6 figures while also suing the guy who wrongfully terminated us in a city that I didn't know anyone in. So when you talk about where's your faith and where's your fear, that's probably one of the reasons why when people ask me to mentor them or coach them, I'm coming from a space that we can do anything. I had to live on credit cards. I brought a commercial building, finding money from the government and the Economic Development Corporation during that first year that I started the company, so things people had never thought of or doing, that came from within. But that was also not just me. That was me and my partner. And when I mean my partner in God, because there were many times I didn't know how I was going to do it. I didn't know how I was going to get up. I couldn't get out of the bed. I was depressed. You can think about it. And I couldn't, everything was over me. So it had to, it came from so many places of despair that if it was up to me, I would have tapped out a long time ago. My mother's dying. died that same year. It was just awful. And I had to pull from a place and replace that income. And I will tell y'all, because again, I'll have to write a book so you can get all into the deep pieces of it. But within 2 years, I had tripled my income from what I was making at that organization as this, VP into that space. So I was able to turn this whole thing around in 2 years. It took me 2 years to do that. So I vowed then, my husband and I vowed then, we would never go back and work for a another organization again. We wanted to be able to get up and look in the mirror and know if we were getting fired, because the only people who were going to fire us would be ourselves. And so that is the journey and what has led me to doing what I'm doing now and the business that I'm doing now. So I have to ask people, and I'm going to ask you guys, if money wasn't an issue, where would you live? And you don't have to share it here. You can put it in the comments. You can write this down. This should be you sitting with yourself. If money wasn't an issue, where would you live? If money wasn't an issue, what would you be doing? And when I sat down and thought about that, if money wasn't an issue, I'd be doing exactly what I'm doing right now. Today for me, and every day I get up, that's how I look at life, because I have everything I need. I'm now working on more things that I want, and what I want is to empower people to move into their spaces. I want them to grasp their own niches. I want them to build wealth, whichever way that makes sense for them, through business or through real estate. Those are the two areas I know. Those are the two areas I was trained in and educated in. As since I was an adjunct professor at 23 years old, that's what I know. Business, marketing, those pieces. And so because this is about you guys who are tuning in, whether you're here live or you're listening to this tape, you are in a space right now that tomorrow is not promised. So everything that you're doing, because you don't know your expiration date, should be what you want to do. And for my ladies who are listening in and who may be at an age of 45, 50, that's my, soft spot, because that group of women more than likely have taken care of kids, siblings, and now they're taking care of parents and all of these things. And I need you guys to stop and look at, how do you take care of you right now? What does that look like? For me, I am exactly where I want to be right now. I'm working on the resort, fundraising, and living in any hotel I want to be in, because I like room service and I like to travel. And if I want to get in my car and travel, or get a ticket, a plane ticket, I am doing life the way I want to do life now, because I have sacrificed and given to so many people that I have to put me first now. So what does that mean? That may mean that you have to be a little selfish. And it's okay, ladies, be a little selfish. Take an extra day, have an extra lobster tail. Do whatever it is that, feeds your soul. Get you a coach, get you a mentor, go for it. You have to go for it, because if you don't go for it, you do not want to be 80 years old saying, I wish I had done this. I wish I had tried that. You will have to try. You will have to fail forward. You will have to keep going. You'll have to build that parachute on your way down if that's what it takes. But you are going to get going. So that's the level of mindset that you have to have in this next space. And if you have shown up here, I must be talking to you for a reason. There is no coincidence that you got here. So this message is for the people who needed to hear it. It's time for you to move, whatever that means. Don't wait for the movement to happen to you like it happened to me. I knew when it was time to move. I kept hearing it, but I was being a little hard-headed, and I was also very secure, what I thought was secure in that job. So I want you guys to be looking and understanding and hearing that this message, the way it's coming out, is coming out because you were already told to move, but you didn't. Fear held you up, you know, laziness, some person in your life trying to talk you out of it, the wrong circle, a whole bunch of stuff. Because if I can build a business and live outside of a 9 to 5, and I don't have any parents, grandparents, everybody's deceased. There was no plan B when we lost the job. The only plan B I was told from my husband is that we could go live with his mother in the Bronx. No, that wasn't even a plan. I was like, sir, we'd be divorced before I go and live with your mother. I'm gonna figure this out. So why most people leave their 9 to 5s, you know, is because of a few things that, here it could be all of them. And so there may be limited income potential that you guys are experiencing. There may be, you want to work remotely and the job won't let you. My favorite, and the one that, cost me my job, but not only did it cost me my job, it also helped me win my lawsuit, was the politics. Because the guy who terminated me, he got on a stand and said, Tameka does not understand Kansas City politics. And that's one of the reasons why, we had to terminate her. I thought, okay, you mean racism? you know, your values are all messed up. Like, I can come up with a whole lot of other things, but that wasn't what I would consider politics. So I've renamed that space as politics, because politics are indeed in everything we do. But maybe you're fed up with that at that 9 to 5. Maybe there's limited freedom for you. You have to check in every time you need to have a day off. I tell people all the time, don't look for me on Mondays. I have not worked a Monday since my kids were little, because I stopped working Mondays, because that was normally when they were the most, they leaving book bags home and this and that and this and that. So I'm like, oh, I'm not doing Mondays. So now Monday becomes a mental health day for me. And I make sure that I take my Mondays and do what I want to do. So if I want to read, I want to study, I want to call a couple of clients, but typically I'm not working on that. I may not even, do anything on Monday, because that's what I want to do. I want the freedom to do what I want. Some people, you might have colleagues that are experiencing burnout, whatever may be going on there. And I will tell you, you experience burnout, if you guys hit a wall, know that you don't recover after you hit that wall. You are not the same. And then once you understand that you're not the same after burnout and hitting that wall, you still have to operate. You have to be okay with operating after the burnout, because you're no longer the same person. So now you have to adjust. And people expect you to be that other person. And I tell everybody all the time, look, I'm going to do me and let the world adjust, because there was nobody there when I was hitting that wall. So you do not come back from the burnout things. And I'm not willing, guys, to give no organization the power to burn me out and then not be able to put me back together. Because I have a heart attack, I pass out, they're gone. They're on to the next thing. So I could not allow them to do that. And of course, the emotional cost and all of those kinds of things. So you may have your own reasons for, why you're, wanting to leave or why you left. And if you don't see them up there, you can jot them down in the group, because you might have a sister here who's like, hey, that's the same reason I left, let's connect. That's what this is about. when I tell people that this lifestyle that I have and what I do now is that I never really need a vacation, that what my vacation looks like is that I may go to the house in Missouri where my husband is, and then like turn off my phone and just hang out at the house and cook. That's what a vacation looks like to me, because I'm normally, my life is my vacation. If I'm on the beach with the minister of tourism having Coco Locos and we're discussing this or hanging out, most people have to save up a whole year to get to a beach to have a Coco Loco. And that's my reality. That's what I do. Last night going to Miami with all the things and having all the drinks and testing out all these different things and all this kind of stuff. That's the reality. That's the lifestyle. That's what looks, what some people look at as a vacation, but that's what I do every day, because it is looking at these four things and saying, I own my time. I have the freedom of being where I want to be. I am here in Miami as an example because of the F1 thing happening this week, as well as the hotel conference that happened. So there was the annual hotel conference for Alice, where they decided to take the Caribbean conference and the Latin American conference and merge them for the first time this year. And all of those people in the hotel space for the Caribbean and Latin America are all in one place. So little did I know, I'm walking through there and I brought one of the ladies who's thinking about being a fund manager with me. And guess who I run into? I run into two of my attorneys from the Dominican Republic. They didn't know I was going to be there. I didn't know vice versa. And so I had a chance to meet with them, and now they're introducing me to somebody else and we're doing business there. So I'm here doing what other people would be doing over a phone someplace else that maybe they don't want to be. So the freedom of location is huge to me because I need to move around. I don't want to be stuck in a city or a state, or any place. I'm not a tree. So I just feel like I can float and do work from wherever or be wherever and enjoying whatever I want. I want a flexibility in income. Who here wants to get up and say, hey, next year, let's earn $1 million? Uh, you know, or next year, I want to earn 100,000. I just, and design it so that you do that. Anybody here wake up and, do that versus getting up and saying, I'm at 50,000 with this 9 to 5. And now if I gotta go fight or convince them to give me a raise to get me to 55,000. Huh? Say what? I've been there. I've been there where I've got to meet the merit increase, the da da da, and I'm a high achiever. So I was hustling to get those things and no problem. Not realizing them bonuses and stuff, I can do that in an hour. Like, I'm like, but nobody told me. Moving into commercial real estate on several projects as a developer or fund manager, you control how much you want to make. I want y'all to hear me again. You control how much you want to make. So if you were to say, those folks who are here, I love y'all in South Carolina because y'all don't even realize the gold y'all sitting on. Y'all see it, but collectively, if they got together, the gold that they would be sitting on is just crazy. But the problem becomes you have to get to a space where you learn to work with other people. You have to get to a space where, the other people who you're working with, you have to have patience with them. You have to get to a space where the other people who, once you discover that they don't know how to work with you because they too busy trying to count how much money this other person is making instead of getting to the finish. And now you figure that out, you got to get rid of them quicker but you have to date and court them, so you never even brought them on. Like, if you guys could figure out how to position yourselves for these partnerships that make sense, you guys can have any amount of money you want. You limit yourself when you only think you are the one person to do it by yourself. Then you do have a cap. But you can also have passive investments that can diversify some of that. So again, the flexibility of income for me is the one reason I'll never go back into my 9 to 5, never go back into a 9 to 5 atmosphere, because I don't want anyone to tell me how much, they think my time is worth, or my value is worth, or what I can and cannot do. It's never ending. And then this last one is purpose-driven work. I don't want to ever work for an organization just because of a check. I'll say it again. I'm not working for any organization just because they're willing to pay what I think they should pay for that job. Because again, when you take a job, I want you to understand this, guys. You look for a job and it says, hey, they're gonna pay you 50,000. You have said to that company, I'm worth 50,000. Now I want you to subtract the taxes and everything else that they take from that. And let's just say 30%, you're actually saying that you're worth whatever that number is. No. Mm-mm. And the Bible and Proverbs said, I'm worth rubies. So all my folks with the Bibles, y'all look it up. Go look up find the scripture that says you worth rubies, because I don't know many. I'm not selling myself short for 30, 40, 25,000 once you really take out all the taxes and headache and everything else. Rubies, that's right, and gold. That's right. Thank you. And gold. And I have to be with other people who understand we worth rubies and gold. What I got up here and what you have over there, we put that together. What limit? What limit on what we want to do? And the purpose-driven work that I am signed up for does not look like me going into anyone's company to put cans together. That's not purpose-driven work for me. The work that I'm supposed to be doing looks like what I'm doing now, looks like opening doors for other people, looks like me helping other people build, single family homes, so that end users can build wealth, so that investors can build wealth, building community. And the thing that I love doing is working with foundations and nonprofits and raising capital for them. That's my purpose-driven work, helping their nonprofits get in position to make sure they have their tax write-offs correctly, and that they have endowment set up and all of those things, because I see a lot of nonprofits doing this work and they are not in a space to pretty much, operate. Nonprofits, they don't mean that you don't make money, so helping nonprofits, that's dear to my heart. So that's what it looks like for me. So quickly, as I go through what this exit framework looks like, we're looking at 4 things. You have to have a mindset shift. You have to define what your enough is for that. And I say enough for that period of time or those periods of time. You need to have an exit strategy with some timelines and some goals and some focus. And then you have to create that passive income. Okay. That's as easy as I can tell folks to do it in 4 steps. Yeah, we could go deeper and go 12 steps for those. And y'all know, if I'm coaching you, we go as deep as you want to go. But in that mindset shift, you have to go from fear, right? And you'll hear people go, you got to go from fear to faith. You got to go to fear to being able to see an opportunity. When the housing crash happened in 2008, I made the most money as a broker during that time. Everybody else was in fear. I was nervous also, but I was just like, somebody's making money during this time. Who is it? What's going on? How do I position myself? That's an opportunity. What we're dealing with now, they're opportunities. Please understand that the folks who are here spending all this kind of money in our group, they had somebody was selling their $70,000 table. They had a $70,000 table that they have for sale for this event this week, while other people are talking about there's, no food on the shelves or whatever. Turn that fear, that becomes opportunity. Turn that into faith. During that housing crash, making six-figure months because we were shifted into the foreclosure side, into the commercial side of the business. You have to, ditch some of those myths that you have with security. A job is not secure. You guys are seeing that firsthand. All those folks who thought, hey, I got a government job and I'm secure, yeah, no. We don't have to go into all of those things. And then adopting these daily habits that successful people have. It's the getting up, it's the talking to yourself, of making sure you're not, you tuned out some of the stuff that's going on and the naysayers around you. You're gonna have more than enough of those, but adopting those same things, those same principles, the, meditation and prayer and whatever it is that gets you in your right mindset. It may not look like someone else's, so that's why I don't choose to always say someone's, what someone else does. Like some of my colleagues, they'll say, oh, I get up and I go work out, I feel much better. Well, I'm not a morning person, so that's not what my day looks like. So I just tell people, you have to find your thing that works for your daily habits, but just talk to different folks if you don't have them. Another piece to this, and I'm going to start breaking some of this stuff down, so hopefully you're writing. What does it look like for you when I'm saying define enough? You want to calculate your freedom number. Every year as a kid, I never forget, I was 16, or I was around 16 years old, I think, or 17. And when I thought $100,000 at that time was a whole lot of money. And I was like, if I get to $100,000, I'll be rich. And I think I don't know how old I was. And that became my freedom number. Well, I got to the 100,000 and I was like, that ain't enough. So, sitting down and really understanding what that freedom number looks like for you, that's the kind of work you guys have to do. What does that look like? Some of you have went through coaching with me, you have your number. Is it 2.5 million, 6 million? We've done that, kind of work where it's like, hey, let's put this number in and then let's make the investments that get us to this number. That's why knowing your number is so important. Knowing that number helps a Betsy or your insurance person put a plan together that helps you meet that retirement number or, your freedom number, whatever that is. Then you want to design your lifestyle. My lifestyle, I designed it. So I strategically purchased a condo office for my beach office in Panama City Beach. That was on purpose. That was what I designed because I wanted to be at the beach. I did that years ago. And that's why, I got my Florida broker's license, because I wanted to show up and be in spaces where it was warm. And if I was going to do real estate, I used to always say, I'm going to do it in flip-flops, and then aligning the money with the mission. So I didn't rent the space of the condo, I purchased it so that when it was time for me to sell, it would align with me selling and keeping the asset or having that asset on that balance sheet so that I could leverage it to do other things. Again, it was a process and it was a thought out plan, which is why I tell you guys, you heard me say it before, you have to write this stuff down. It's not going to just come up. This has to come from you, right? So only you would know that. You have to create passive income streams. So I listed a few there, but you're going to hear from a variety of people today that have a variety of different ones. So here I've got single family residences, but with property management already in place because it's got to be passive. I can't be touching it. So all of my single family residences, that was a part of my plan. I've now shifted those to my son, and the ones that I wound up keeping, he has some, I took some, and now some of those I've turned those into what I call playing my real life Monopoly. And I've turned those into shares in my hotels, or all of the hotels I want to invest in. I'm just moving my green ones into the red ones, because the hotel investments, I don't have to worry about toilets and things like that. That comes with a property management company. So it's just about me having the lifestyle of staying in the hotels for, $30 a night, the ones I want to travel to, or staying in the ones that, we have ownership in, and traveling and getting our dividends or doing whatever it is. You create that. You can create passive income through real estate crowdfunding, like putting your money in and being a limited partner on projects. You can do seller financing. There are lots of ways that you can do it. You can, you can find crowdfunding projects at $1,000. For those who were here and did the workshop with me, I gave you investments you could do with no money up to 50,000, 14 of those. So there's always ways in which you can make those investments work for you without you having to touch them. So when you're putting all of those things together, know that it is mindset, you're looking at money, and then you're mapping this stuff out. Okay. These are pictures of me with the Minister of Tourism in the Dominican Republic, because this is about this presentation right here. I'm using me as this example. That first top picture was me meeting him and having the courage and confidence to meet him. That was the first time I met him in person. I invited him to my conference that I had in the Dominican Republic. Confidently stood there and told that man, thanks for coming to our conference. I'll be doing more business with you here on my projects here in the Dominican Republic. Fast forward, that was my mindset. Okay, that was me having the courage and confidence to put it out there. Now, remember, if you're a child of God and you believe in yourself, when you say you want the stars and that God gives you the galaxy, girls, y'all better be ready. Because that picture down at the bottom was when the Minister of Tourism took me out on the boat to find my location for this hotel that I'm currently working on. Did I know that in that first picture? Absolutely not. Did I know that that was where it was going to go? Absolutely not. But I had the courage and confidence to say, I can get this. This is what I'm doing, because this is for me. This is what I know. And the money comes in because I'm earning it and I'm investing it. So I earn, and you guys are figuring this out. Which way do you want to earn your money? Some people are going to say, well, I'm going to stay at this 9 to 5 while I build out my other business, right? If that's your plan, then get your butt in gear and start building out that other business. Do not wait and get comfortable given a 9 to 5, 8 hours, and then you want to tittle tatter with your own brand and your own business, only give it an hour a week. Huh? How'd you give this company 50 hours and you gave your company 1 hour? And no, that's not how that works. So you got to switch that mindset. You don't have that kind of time. You don't have time to chill. You gotta come on, let's go. Let's get this business going. You have too much talent to be sitting at somebody else's job. You got to birth your own. That's your lifestyle. That's your kids' inheritance. That's your kids' trust fund. One of my mentors has 16 grandchildren. His trust fund is full. That's another reason I went into the hotel piece, because he had owned 50 hotels. So he showed me how how his 16 grandkids are set because of the hotel deals and how he put those together for that trust fund. That's where I got that idea to turn all of that stuff on for myself. Okay. So you want to earn and invest. Earn and invest, whether it's at the 9 to 5 or doing something else. Then the next piece is you're going to customize your road to freedom. Whatever that looks like for you, you have to map that out. Mine's, it's real simple. I'm going to develop these communities, live in these communities, and then sell these communities. It's as simple as that. So if I have 10 communities that I'm helping people build, one of those properties or so is mine. It's mine to sell, to live, whatever it is I want to do. My map is really simple. You can make your map look the way you want it to look, which is why when some of you guys see that we have that 4-step program, and why it's like you do your investments and then you learn commercial and then you build out your own community. That's what some people's map looks like, because they're going to own one of the properties, rent out the other units or sell the other units, and that's their income for their retirement plan. Okay, so for those who see that, that's kind of how that ties together. I know it's hard because sometimes we're just shooting stuff out there, and if you're not in the Patreon thing or not a part of like our network, or who understand we've been building at this and working toward this for a while, it kind of seems like, what do they got going on over there, doing a little of this, a little of that? No, we're actually working amongst ourselves, where we have GCs within our network, we have developers in our network, we have fund managers in our network, and we're collectively behind the scenes quietly working together to build out these communities. So here's what, another glimpse into what I've got going on, and where I normally, when people say, well, how can we work together? What do you have? What are you doing? I'm constantly in a space of moving or investing with a project or something, or fundraising for somebody's project or my project or something. So right now I'm with the Dominican Republic, Azul Resorts. We're doing beachfront location that was selected by the Minister of Tourism. It is an 80-unit room hotel with residences. That's why I'm here at this conference, is I was making my final selection to the I had to meet the Hilton here because we already had an offer from one of the other brands. So I wanted to go face to face with the Hilton selections of people and go through that. And my purpose-driven stuff here is I'm fundraising. I'm fundraising for nonprofits, and that's my purpose-driven work. So I'm constantly doing that. So when I'm telling other folks that, hey, this is your purpose-driven work, this is what mine looks like. And I'm doing it wherever, and I'm doing whatever and wherever it is that I want to be and how I want to do that. And I am getting approached by all kinds of people like, hey, can you help me with this? And can you help me with that? And it depends on, of course, if I have enough time, I look at those things, and how I can contribute and when's the right time. So you may very well be in the network and I'm helping you on your nonprofit, but it may be for a short period of time because all you need is a couple of people to do something else. Or like I may be on a board right now with Saving Homes org, where they're helping families in North Carolina prevent foreclosure. And I'm doing that there because I know he needs my help because he's going national with it. So I know that would then be able to help a lot of our tribe members in a lot of their areas, if that makes sense. So I'm doing some heavy lifting over there for him because that will benefit the tribe at a much bigger space. So if people who ask me about this hotel stuff, who people ask me about the fund manager stuff, when we're finished with this class, I'll make sure that the folks on here and that the assistant sends this information out. So I'll put this here for those who are asking. There's 3 programs that I'm working on. It's the hotel ownership program and mentorship. There's a fund manager program and mentorship. And then there's the Build Your Brand. It's for those who were around before. It was the 20 and 20 when we did that in year 2020. People asked if I was bringing that program back. Not in full like I was doing before. I only will have room for 2. And that, if you see the number 2, that's because there's only 2 people I have time to work with. And Kyra can tell you on the fund manager side, this is, this is where it's at. being a fund manager and being able to raise capital, you can help so many people. And so that's why it's like, I don't really have the time I used to have. I don't have the time to help on the build your brands and help you with your own stuff as much as I'm spending full time. Raising capital is full time work, but having people shadow and all of that is very important. So that's why I opened it up for people who are really looking and wanting to do that because it is necessary. And then the hotel ownership program is very much the same thing. They're only 2% of um, it's actually less than 2% of women actually own hotels. And again, these particular areas of fund manager and hotel, it takes a lot because there isn't a lot of us, in those spaces. And so that's why it's like, I don't have time to mentor a whole bunch of people, but I created a program for a limited group of folks. So that's what's going on there. And if there's folks who are looking at, I'm ready to move from my 9 to 5, you know, jump in, like find you an accountability partner. You have my email. Um, Touch in with us on Be Niche. We have Facebook pages. I do as many free events as I can. But we have lots of people who are in your areas. We like to kind of do things together. Jump in wherever you see. If you want to come to our conference like Teach of the Beach, we normally this year we're only doing 50 people. There's a lot of stuff that we have going on, but if you're ready for moving into that space, send my email, take that, or you can drop it in the comments and Latoya will get your information. I do want to make sure we have time for at least one question before I bring the other group in, because I don't want to be the one dragging our thing too late. And we don't have a lot of time for Q&A, so you can drop them in and I'll make sure that I respond to those. And I don't know if all of our presenters for our 12 o'clock are here, but I'll talk until I make sure that everybody is here and accounted for. But I want to thank you guys for joining us today. And if you've been around in the tribe for longer than today, thanks for your contribution. But we are now in a space where we are leveling up ourselves because we have to build community just to combat and protect what is happening around us, what's happening in the administration, all of these changes and tariffs. That's why you'll see that I put that commercial class in place so people can learn retail. It's all of that stuff that we're doing so that we're protecting and growing our community outside of what's going on. So again, Tameka Bryant, and I thank you guys, and I will be around because, of course, I'm co-hosting this event today, and Latoya is helping out.